Okay, for number 1, we need to find the slope of this line. This is a vertical line. So you may need to remember what the slope of a vertical line is. So you may need to remember your bucks, which means horizontal lines have 0 slope. And these are y equals equations. And then vertical lines have undefined slope. Okay, fix it. And those are x equals. So if this is a vertical line, what is the slope? Undefined. For number 2, is the following set of ordered pairs a function? In order to determine is this a function or not, we need to look at our x values. If all of our x values are different and go to different y values, or each x has a different y value, then we can say it is a function. Here we have a 1, a 2, and a 3. Because all of our x's are different, this is a function. If I had a 1 and another 1 and they both went to 3, that would still be a function because the y's aren't different. But if I had a 1 going to 3 and to 2, that would not be a function because they're going to 2 different y's. Number 3, we need to evaluate. Put -5 in for x. And simplify. This would give us 2 times 25. 2 times 25 would give us 50. And 50 minus 3 would give us 47. Questions on those 3? For number 4, you need to state the domain and the range. Because these are random ordered pairs, we are going to have 2 lists of numbers. So lists of numbers are in curly brackets from least to greatest without reading. So for our domain, furthest point to the left would be -4, and we should keep going to the right. So -2, -1, 1, and then 3. And for our range, we're looking at our lowest to highest. So lowest would be -4. And then there are 2 at 2, but we just need to put 1. And then 3, and then 4. And then for the last one, is the bothering at 41 or 43? I don't remember. 43. Thank you. If you remember how to do this without solving it, so like remember the rules, then you didn't need to solve it, but I'm going to solve it. And then go back and talk about the rules. Which you may need to finish when we get back to the rules. We would need to get all of the constants on one side and variables on the other. So you can move whatever you want. I could subtract 5x to this side to get x plus 10 equals -3. And then move 10 to the other side by subtracting it to get x equals -3. So because it's x equals some number, this would be one solution. If you remember that if they have the same coefficient and constant, that would give you infinitely many. That would eliminate that. In order to have no solution, they have to have the same constant with different coefficients, which is not the case here. So the only option would be 1. have any questions on 4 or 5? When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about some important things, and I'll explain what we're doing today. So, important things. 1, you all have a course calendar, the goals, course calendar that was with your papers. Some of you may use that, some of you may track it, that's okay. However, I made that in December before we had a week off of school, so all those dates are wrong. So if you do use that, I'm going to tell you what the new dates are, and some of the things on there have changed. So for you guys, today is the 11th. We're doing benchmark makeup work on that goal sheet. So some of the stuff should still say that, but some of it can be changed. The 13th is going to be when we do direct variation. The 18th, because of Martin Luther King Day, is when we're going to do inverse variation. The 20th is when we're going to do joint and combined variation. Originally I had 2 days for that, but we don't really need 2 days for that. The 24th is when you guys are going to take your benchmark for anyone who is retaking tests. The 26th is when you guys are going to take your quiz for Unit 5. And then the 31st, because you guys don't have school on the 28th, because it's a teacher work day, is going to be your Unit 5 tests. Anyone need me to repeat any of those dates? All of those dates are on Canvas except for the benchmark one. I have updated the board to show those dates as well. I will be posting an announcement to have those dates up there as well. Just a reminder, for the benchmark, all of your stuff needs to be done before you take your benchmark. So that's your test questions, your Delta Math, your Khan Academy, extra practice if you got below a C. And I think that's it. But all those things. So after I talk through these things, if you need to work through that stuff, you'll have that time. I believe I mentioned this before, but I'm not 100%, so I'm going to say it again. Everything on your progress report will be your final grade for this marking period, unless you take the benchmark, take missing tests, or turn in missing Khan Academies, because nothing else we do starting Thursday will go on this marking period. It will go on the next one for marking period 3. So when you look for Khan Academies and the quizzes and the tests, those will all be in marking period 3, not marking period 2. Questions on any of that before I continue? So we're not doing those notes today, no. Hold on to them, because we'll start them Thursday, but I just didn't want to pass it out on Thursday. Okay. Some of you may have been aware of this, or may not have. But because this class doesn't require an SOL, at the end of the year, unless you have an A overall end year grade, you'll be taking the final. The final is going to be worth 10% of your overall grade. So some of you, your semester grade is also, I printed out with your progress report. Some of you may be sitting at a D or lower. When you go to take that final, that may make or break your grade. So if your grade is low now, you should definitely be working towards making it better before the grade period ends. And moving forward, doing better for the second semester. That way you're not like on the borderline for when that final comes. I don't have much more information about the final except those that have A's will be exempt. Seniors will obviously take it before graduation. And that's all the knowledge I have about that right now. Nasa, did you have a question?
Did you say that if you have a good grade in the class, going to do the final? Or?
If you have an A, you're exempt. A overall grade, you're exempt from the final. If not, you're taking the final.
Alright. So if you have a B or lower?
B plus or lower, you're taking the final. Other questions about that? So keep that in mind moving forward. And then last thing, I talked to many of you, some of you were not here the last day or two before break, about recommendations for next year. For majority of you, that's going to be Algebra 2, because that's the class after this. But if that's different, or if I haven't spoken to you about that yet, I'll be having conversations with you about that. If we need to have a conversation to change that, we can do that. Otherwise, that would be the class I recommend you for next year. Questions on that? So today, if you are missing tests, you're going to use however much time you need to study for said tests, and then I'll come around and ask you if you're ready so you can take those tests. If you already started working on retake work, I'm going to pass that stuff back out to you. I'm also going to pass out all of your tests that I graded over break. That way you can look and see if you want to retest any of those. And start working on that retest work. If you know you're missing Khan Academy quizzes for this marking period, so look at your progress report or student view to see which ones those are. You could be working on those until I come around and talk to you about retests or making up tests. Does anyone have questions on what we're doing today? So you guys can start working on any of those things. Mr. Northwood wanted to show you guys.